I do want to make a video today because I was scrolling through the YouTube and I saw like one of those Watch Mojo, like Miss Mojo videos about like the top 10 Degrassi and the Next Generation couples, and I saw that video and I felt like I needed to make a video about the actual top 10 Degrassi and Next Generation couples because one, first and foremost, Degrassi the Next Generation, like that title, really only belongs to seasons 1 through 9 of the show. Seasons 10 through 14 are then just Degrassi, and then the Netflix seasons are Degrassi Next Class. So, like, you have to differentiate. Degrassi Next Generation, I'm sorry, does not include seasons 10 through 14. Like, that is its own thing. Okay, so there's that. And second of all, and like, this is really important, the moment that I saw that list included Spinner and Emma, I knew that I had to make a video about actual good couples because that was not it, like, at all. So this is my personal opinion for top 10 Degrassi the Next Generation couples, which constitutes, like I said, seasons 1 through 9, as well as like two like sort of runner-ups, you know, like how they Watch Mojo videos always have like those, I forgot the name, maybe I'll put it here somewhere. But yeah, so that being said, let's start this. So for the number 10 couple, I had to go with Paige and Spinner because they weren't like a long-lasting relationship and they were not endgame. Never thought they were gonna really be endgame, but for what it was and for the time that they were together, it was really cute. Like, Paige was kind of the worst in season 1, which was one of the reasons that I loved her so much. And maybe if things were different, Spinner could have maybe gone with like Terry or something, and that whole show could have been much different if Terry had just gone with Spinner and, you know, the other things hadn't happened down the line. But that's not what happened. And Paige and Spinner got together, and I actually really liked them together. And at the time that they got together, like, he really followed her and like chased after her even when she wasn't really giving him much attention, like in season 2, which was so sad. And he stayed there for her, being by her side through all the stuff that happened with Dean and everything. And they only broke up ultimately because of the stupidest thing. Like, they broke up because Spinner, suddenly they wanted to make him like cheat on her basically. And then, of course, that ended up creating one of the absolute worst couples in all of Degrassi history. And I could make an entire video about the top 10 worst couples and bet that Manny and Spinner would be on that list. For number 9, this is like a video, like a couple that I'm pretty sure is probably no one's favorite, but I just love them personally. So this is like a 100% personal opinion, and that is Manny and Craig. Because, okay, I love Jake Epstein with all of my life and all of my heart. I would give the world to him. And I love Manny. So anyone they pair Craig with, for the most part, will definitely, like, almost all of his pairings will be on this list for me. And Manny and Craig were one of those. Like, when he was first introduced in season 2, and like both Emma and Manny had a crush on him, and then he actually like ended up kind of choosing Manny, but then she was too much of a child for him at the time. I was like, oh, that's a bummer. Maybe in the future, you know. And then season 3 happened, and you were like, maybe that's not what I wanted. That's because from every relationship that they've ever truly had, it's not been good. Either she's been too much of a kid for him, or he was with somebody else and she was like, you know, the other woman, and then she got pregnant with this child, and then they broke up for a long time, then they got back together just for him to go and like be addicted to cocaine, and then she broke up with him. It was a huge mess. Like, they never had a good relationship, but they had chemistry and they were cute, and when they were good, they were good, even if it was like just a few episodes. So I will always love Manny and Craig. The next one, number 7, is a couple that I didn't know like where to rank them because I knew I wanted them to be on this list. And they're one of those couples that like I feel like doesn't get talked about much, and that's Johnny and Allie. I love Johnny DeMarco so much, and I wish that they would have done more with his character and not just kind of written him off. That's kind of what happened. He just got written off. Because him and Allie were super freaking cute. Like, they're that stereotypical, you know, cliche of a really good girl who's smart and young. She was a freshman at the time while he was a senior, and he was a bad boy, and he was like a troublemaker. Probably gonna, like, he would have easily gotten and like become a delinquent most likely in the future, even though he was really smart in actuality. But thankfully, like, being with her kind of changed him a little bit. And ultimately led him in the right path, because as we see later on when we kind of get closure there and we see him again for the final time later on in season 11, I'm pretty sure. Season 11 or season 10? I'm pretty sure it's season 10. You see that he's like in college and actually has a good life now. So I'm so happy for him because he deserves the best. And they were so cute. Another couple that every time they were together, almost the relationship never worked out. But truly, Johnny was like the only other person besides Dallas who I liked her with. So they were cute. The next couple is one of those couples that's like on every single top 10 Degrassi couples list. And I feel like they're on every list just because before Degrassi Next Class, they were really like the only lesbian couple on the show. And so, you know, obviously I'm talking about Paige and Alex. And I don't love them just because they were the only lesbian couple on the show. I genuinely really liked how they developed. I liked that they are complete opposites, polar opposites, and that they hated each other at first and they were like rivals basically. And then they ended up having to work together, and then they became really good friends. And then from good friends, they ended up finding out they had feelings for each other, and it just kind of naturally evolved. But sadly, they are another one of those couples that just, it never seemed to work out. And I actually only really liked Paige and Alex during their first relationship, because then they like went through something, and then like, or they never broke up. But the point is, I didn't like Paige and Alex once once Paige graduated and went to college. I didn't like Paige and Alex after graduation from Degrassi. I only liked them when they were in Degrassi. Besides that, it's like they kind of just got in. The next couple is Ellie and Sean, which is another one of those couples that it feels a little bit underappreciated. Because when people talk about Ellie, they usually talk about, you know, one other person who will be on this list later. And when you talk about Sean, you usually talk about one other person who will definitely be on this list later. But no one ever really talks about when Ellie and Sean dated for like a season. And genuinely, I think that Ellie and Sean could have really made it work endgame if the situation didn't work out. And like, they were so cute when they were together. But like I said, it just really didn't work out because, of course, then Sean had to like left the show for a while, literally right when they had to finally like, they were in a relationship and things were working out, he left the show. And then actually for people who watch like not just the show, but they watch like the mini webisode stuff, at the time that like when Sean was coming back, like in season 6, they released like a webisode before he came back where he came back to Degrassi and he was actually like trying to be back with Ellie, but at that point Ellie had already fallen pretty hard for someone else and she didn't really want to be back with him. So even though obviously ultimately I am glad that they weren't endgame, I think that out of all these couples, they were one of the couples that weren't endgame. Like they didn't end up together, but they easily could have if things just worked out for them, like for once. But of course that's not at all what happened. Next is Holly J and Declan. You know, we got that Dolly J, and this is like season 9. So this is cutting it. It's almost Degrassi. It's not even really Degrassi The Next Generation, but it still technically is Degrassi The Next Generation because it happened like midway into season 9, okay? And I guess you can't really include Degrassi Takes Manhattan, but from at least like, you know, like just forget about the fact that it's technically rolls over and it's Degrassi The Next Generation plus Degrassi. Dolly J is an iconic couple, okay? Like truly. It's another one of those cliches where it's like a really smart girl, good girl. Well, not really. She's a really smart girl and he's a rich bad boy, but it's a little bit different. And that Holly J is not so nice. She's really mean and she was a bully for the longest. So the fact that they could find they could find love in each other and that he really chased her. Like there was a whole episode, you know, Love Game, dedicated to him just chasing her until she finally like gave in and like agreed to go on a date with him, even though and like that sounds weird, like she gave in as if she didn't have feelings for him, and it's not that she didn't have feelings for him because first moment she laid eyes on him, she was like, wow, this guy is, you know, attractive. But then the whole thing with Jane happened, so she kind of tried to stay away but ultimately couldn't. And they were just such an iconic couple, and even though canonically in the show they didn't end up together, which I'm kind of glad they didn't, or at least like I'm glad that they broke up when they did, because Declan was kind of being the worst at the time that they broke up. Like he was really being super annoying and kind of just like, oh, it was icky. Like at the time that it aired, like season 10 when they broke up, when it happened, I was kind of like 11 or 12 at the time. I was like, oh, that's kind of, what is he thinking? But now looking back at it as like an almost 20-year-old, I'm like, this man was so in the wrong. I'm so glad she broke up with him, and it's just sad that they were never able to get back together. But in my eyes and in my dreams, they have always ended up together because they both went to Yale together. She is still his sister's best friend, and he literally sent her flowers during the last episode she was shown after she like had that kidney transplant surgery thing, whatever it was she had. So in my eyes, they ended up together. And then at this point, like for the final four, I think are couples that are not at all underrated. They're 100% expected, and number one's going to be like so obvious to anyone who's ever seen Degrassi: The Next Generation. So let's just get past these quickly. Number 4 is Jay and Manny, because you cannot have Degrassi: Next Generation best couples list without Jay and Manny, because at the end of the day, Manny has had many a boyfriend, no shade, but she's had many a boyfriends. I want to say she's the one who, I feel like she's dated the most people in the show overall. Even now, like she still is, but I could be wrong. But I feel like she was that girl at the time. And her, somehow, you never would have expected that her best pairing would have been with Jay, especially when Jay was first introduced to the show. You were like, he's never gonna go and be with Manny Santos, and then it happened, and then you were like, weirdly into it. But not only were you weirdly into it, it also weirdly worked. Like, Manny has never had a better pairing than Jay, and Jay has never had a better pairing than Manny, and they just work so well together, and they legitimately ended up together. So yeah. And then number 3, I was really thinking, I should put this one as number 2, but ultimately had to put number 3 because number 2 just means so much more to me. And number 3 is JT and Liberty. And this is a couple that, like, a pairing that has been hinted at since the beginning, because Liberty has always had the biggest crush on JT, and JT never even gave her the time of day. But they always had like sweet moments throughout sometimes seasons, like one episode where like they actually kind of get along, and you're like, oh, yay. And then season 4 happened, and you were like, okay. And then like season 5 happened, and you were like, oh, well, I guess not. And then season 6 happened, and we all know what happened in Rock This Town. And so they were never able to be endgame, but I truly believe that if what had not happened, or what happened had not happened in Rock This Town, season 6, they could have easily been endgame, because, he was about to go and get his oatmeal, He finally decided he wanted to go and get a bowl of oatmeal, and life happened. And number 2, which I'm telling you, I really considered if I should even have them like as number 2 or number 3, even considered number 1. And that is Craig and Ellie, because, as I've mentioned, I love Craig with all of my heart, and I really liked Ellie. And they were a pairing that freaking frustrated me, and they still frustrate me, but they're one of those couples that in my mind they ended up together, even though canonically they didn't end up together, because he obviously felt something for Ellie, and Ellie, clearly felt a lot for Craig. And he just they never had the right timing. That's ultimately what the relationship comes down to. It never was the right timing, and even when we last saw them in Degrassi Takes Hollywood, they still didn't have the right timing. But to me, they will always, they ended up together, okay? Or at least I wish they would, because they were really the cutest for each other. They were like the only pairing that Craig, I think, has truly had, because Manny was obviously a toxic relationship from like the start. And I'm not even gonna talk about Ashley Kerwin, okay? She's not gonna be on this list at all. So Ellie's really the only girl I think who could really fit well with Craig. And then before I mention number 1, which like everyone already knows who number 1 is, I do want to mention 2 honorable mentions, because these are couples that were momentarily cute. So I feel like they deserve like some mention, but that's about it. And that's Ellie and Jimmy, because that is a ship that never really happened, never really sailed, but it was kind of like hinted at for a little bit there. And I actually really would have liked it, because Jimmy is one of those characters who, sadly, except for like the girl he ended up with, who even I didn't really truly care that much for, did not have the best luck in relationships in terms of me liking the girls he's in a relationship with, because whenever I make, because I'm going to make it, whenever I make a worst Degrassi relationships list, you are going to see my disdain for Ashley Kerwin. And so, sorry, Jimmy, didn't like you with Ashley. Did not even care for Hazel. Was she even a character in the show? I don't know, because she had no character development or growth or personality. So truly his relationship with Ellie, or possible relationship, because it never even happened, was the closest I got to really liking Jimmy with somebody. And I'm kind of disappointed that they never went that route. And then finally, I also want to mention Casey and Claire, because when I started watching the show, I started watching it during season 8. And so to me, when I was like growing up, I was like 5th grade. Was it? Yeah, it was 5th grade. Casey and Claire were so cute. I was like, oh my god, they're so cute. Like, oh my god, how would they end up together? And I mean, obviously, once I eventually make a top 10 Degrassi, not Degrassi Next Generation, but Degrassi couple list, Casey and Claire, I don't even know who that is. But for season 8 alone, and just season 8, because literally by season 9, they're already ruined because he like cheats on her and goes with Jenna. So just season 8, they were cute. So just for that alone, I'll give them an honorable mention. And then finally, I'll end this video with my number 1, which should be Avi. It's gonna be Sean and Emma, okay? Because before Degrassi happened, and it was just Degrassi the Next Generation, my number 1 and my set number 1 was Sean and Emma. And sadly, obviously, that's not the case overall anymore. Sad. They are truly one of like the OG ship of the show, and the fact that they were the OG ship of the show and they were put through so much for 7 seasons, and yet they still did not end up together, still keeps me up at night. It keeps me up at night because Sean was just never even seen again, heard of again, mentioned he went to the army, and that is it. And I was like, is he good? Like
48 hours later.
Like Degrassi Takes Manhattan was obviously 1000% a way to 100%, like finally, like not finally, that sounds mean, but like finally write Spinner and Emma off the show in a way that made sense, because they were the only 2 characters who kind of stayed back, and so they were still on the show even though it was way past their time to leave. That's exactly what Degrassi Takes Manhattan was. And instead of taking that opportunity to, I don't know, literally do anything else, they took that opportunity to completely ruin any chance of Sean and Emma, ruin Spinner and Jane, who were a really solid couple for freaking seasons, and instead have Spinner and Emma end up together, which made absolutely no sense, and was ultimately the reason and the catalyst for me even making this video, because the moment that I saw Spinner and Emma in that top 10 Miss Mojo list, I was shocked. I don't understand how anyone could consider them a good couple. They made no absolute sense, and Sean and Emma were superior, and I'm really disappointed that after everything they weren't even endgame. That is going to be it for this video. This is already a long video. I tried to make a minute for each person, but it's just not possible. So here we have a long video where I rant about Degrassi, which is a favorite pastime of mine, so I'll hopefully make more of these because I could really rant about Degrassi for the rest of my life.